Does anyone restored the World Wide Web, World Wide Importers? That's what my question is. Does anyone has the 2016 version? And yes, okay, Divya. So it's a straightforward, right? So just need to take the backup file, go to the databases, click on the restore database, and then you can get that one. Okay. Okay. So today we'll discuss about the some more few more concepts, like we discussed about the top function, right? So I think Prashanti, you have asked the fetch and offset one. Yes, we can use the fetch and offset to retrieve, skip the rows and retrieve the number of records, but in conjunction with the top command we can't use. There is a limitation for the fetch and offset to use in conjunction of the top command. So if I go by the, let's take the top 2 stars like this. If I go here, it is giving me the 2 records, but I want only the second record of this one. Then the fetch offset command, guys. Okay, there is a command called in the order by class. In the order by class, like how we specify the ascending or descending, you can specify the offset and fetch also. The syntax is like this: offset, okay, and the number, you need to give the number, numeric value. Offset, let's take how many rows you need to skip, that is the offset value. Let's take the offset value start from 0. Okay, is 0. If you give the 1, so it's going to be skip 1 row and fetch next, fetch next, fetch next. Next, how many rows you need to retrieve? That could be, let's take, if I'm reading the 3 rows, okay, fetch next 1 row. Okay, so if I execute this one, offset fetch,
it's first 1 row only, or first 1 rows only. You have to put the keyword fetch first. The word first should be there after fetch.
fetch
First 1 row only, 1 rows only. Yeah.
there is no 1 row only like this, and it's a fetch. So the syntax is like this. Let me get the syntax.
I mean, it should not be used with top. The top keyword should be gone now.
That's what I mentioned. So the fetch statement won't go by the top one, but if you just go to the like this first, let me correct this syntax over here. From star, select 3 star from sales order by order ID, descending offset 1, fetch first 1 row only. Star.
Sorry to bother, but the 3 should go away. Select star from sales.orders, order by, and then offset 1 row. There should be the keyword row after 1. Okay, fetch first 1 row only. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no fetch. I rarely use this command. That's why I never gone through this part. Okay, but I just gone through the information what we can do with the order and fetch. So there is a no row here.
1 rows only. Okay.
1 row. 1 second, guys. 1 row only. Let me go 1 second. Okay, fetch 1, offset 1 row, fetch first 1. 1 second, guys.
I copy pasted the query which I wrote.
Okay.
Just in case.
1 second. Yeah. Fetch next. Fetch next one row only, like this. Okay, so what it is means is, okay, offset one rows means currently here we are getting all the records. So first it will skip one row. After that it is getting the only one row. So always our record is one record here. Suppose if I give the 10 rows, so it will skip the first row and give the next 10 rows for us. So that's what. But as for our yesterday command, we want to get the second maximum or something like that. Then you can't use the fetch and offset with the top command, throw 3 star something like that. If I give, that will fail because the fetch and offset cannot be used with the information. Top cannot be used in the same query or the subquery as the offset. That's why you can't use the top and offset values combined together. Okay, so to identify the second maximum or the nth maximum, we have the Windows queries. We'll go to that one later. Okay, second point. Now, till now we learned about how to get the top records. Let's take, I want the distinct records. There is a class called the distinct class. We are talking about the distinct class. Okay, so distinct class, suppose if I go, let me say, see some table where it could be the possible things. I'm just trying to see customer transactions.
Sir, can you please like explain once more those offset and fetch command?
Yeah, sure. So basically, offset and fetch command will be used to skip the results. Suppose you have the 10 rows in your table. You don't want the first 2 rows. After that, you want the next 3 records. In that scenario, so it must be the order by, because how can it know it has to skip what rows? So it has to be fetch and offset is the combination with the order by class, and you have to, sorry, it has to use with the order by class, and the offset is nothing but the skip, how many rows you have to skip, and fetch next, how many rows you have to display. So in this, and you should, whenever you use the offset and fetch command, you should not use the top command. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's the information. And coming to the distinct class, suppose you have the same records, employees same records they have, you don't want the duplicate records in the result set, you just want the one record, the distinct values. Okay, so let's take, you have the customer transactions, other orders itself. Okay, select a star from sales dot orders here, which will tell us, okay, if I see this information, order ID, customer ID, and all these things, who are all the customers made the orders. If I want to get all the customer IDs who made the order, is my question is clear? If I want to get who are all the customers made the order, at least one order in this table. So then if I just give the customer ID, I want to get all the customer IDs who made the orders. Then if I can go and select the customer ID. Okay. Then what it will give me? It will give me all the customer IDs. Okay. So I have the customer ID 1, 407, like this. So which means this customer made these many times the transaction order. So I want to get only the distinct customer IDs. Then I can use the distinct. Good. Distinct to just remove the duplicates in the result set, not in the data. Just to remove the duplicates in the result set and give the unique values. Suppose if I go here, so there are distinct 663 customers who made the orders till now. The 663 customers made 73,000 orders. Is it clear? So the select distinct class will help us to get the unique records or the distinct records in the result set. So let's take, you have the customer table. you have the customer table. Select star from, if I use the customers, here we have the customer ID, customer name, okay. But if you see here, this customer, the customer tailspin toys, it has a different names. Each city wise they have a one location, one customer. They created the each city wise, so it is in the different cities. Each city is just embedded with the city name to differentiate the different customers. If I want to get, okay, distinct customer names, suppose if I directly give the customer name, this total table has 663 customers. 663. If I use the distinct, 663, which means there is no duplication in the customer name. If you want to identify, is there any duplication in the given result set, you can use the distinct column. But the result set before to distinct and after the distinct, if both are the same, then there is no duplication. There is the other way to find the is there any duplication or not. I'm just talking about the what is the use of the distinct at this point of time. I'm not talking about how to find a duplicate records. Okay, don't get confused. With using distinct also, you can say is there any duplication or not. Is it clear? Any questions? Let's take our table we have, right? So select star from use, I can use the use online store, okay. Select star from hr.tbl employee. Then when I select this one, it's giving me all this one. I want to get what are all the distinct genders I have in the table, distinct different values, the group of values what I have. Even though I have the n number of records, what are all the distinct values I have in the gender column? Distinct gender. You should give me what could be the output?
Female and male.
Female and male. Yeah, female and male, those two only. So that is where the distinct column will come. So basically sometimes what will happen is, even though you have the you don't have any employee table, something like that, or customer table, something like that, but you have only orders table where the employee ID something you got associated. You just want to get the distinct kind of the customers, customer types kind of things, then you can use the distinct column in the table that will retrieve the information. So the distinct column again you can use along with the count also. Let's take here, we talk about the customers and orders, right? So basically distinct customer ID, I need to use this worldwide importers. Okay, so if I select here, it is giving me the 663, right? So if I use count of distinct customer ID, if I use count of distinct customer ID, that should give me that 663. If I use the just customer ID, it should give me 73,000. Okay, if I use the count of customer ID, that will give me each row has the customer ID. That's why it's giving the total customer IDs. But if I go for the count of distinct customer IDs, then it will give me distinct customer IDs in that table. Is it clear? So the distinct function you can use within the count functions, or you can just use the without the count functions also. But the distinct should be used. Suppose you are getting, you want to get the gender, comma other values also. Then there is no scenario such a way that okay, give me the distinct gender and all the first names. It's not possible. Okay, let's take if I give the first name, F name right here. Okay, if I run this one, look, it's give me the combinations, the distinct combinations. So this will take, this is the one group of the objects. With this combination, what are the distinct values I have? So this will give me the combination of the gender and the first name with the combination distinct values. So female employee 2, this one. So if there is any record with the female employee 2, then that would reduce. So here further, if I want to give the customer ID, comma something, product or something, let me take.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Why there will be two customer IDs for the same person?
Why there will be two customer IDs for the same person? So we are looking into the orders table. The same customer can buy multiple times. So that's why in the orders table you have the duplication of the customer ID. But in the on the customer table you don't have anything. Your push is valid. That's why in the customer table there is no ID for the same customers two times. But in the order table, same person can make multiple orders. So each order counted as one row.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it. Sorry.
Yeah. So then customer ID, let me take some contact person ID, the salesperson ID, salesperson ID. So let's take the contact customer ID and the salesperson ID combination. Okay, contact distinct customer ID, comma salesperson ID, salesperson ID, salesperson person ID, person ID. Distinct. One second. Yeah, this is what I want to tell over here. You can use the distinct here like this, multiple combinations over here, but in the within the count function, count function, you can't use the multiple columns with the distinct. Distinct can be applied to the only single column. So one second. Comma order ID. You can't use the multiple. You got it? There is no way you can use the distinct multiple columns in the count function. Okay, so this is the only way. Other way is maybe you can write as a subquery like this, right? Suppose you want to get select distinct, okay, customer ID, comma something salesperson person ID from sales.orders. Then this will give me distinct of this one. If I want to get count of this one, I can use this one as an inner table, this one as an inner table. You can give any name over here, X, Y, Z, or inner table or something, whatever it is. Then I can use count, select count of 1 or the count of distinct like that. Okay. From this one. Now if you see, out of 73,595, 663 distinct customers are there. These 663 distinct customers make a 600 and each customer with a different salesperson. He made a multiple transactions. Okay, so here 6,000. If you want to just get the count of that one, so this query indicates. So this customer and the salesperson combinations, how many transactions are happened? That's what it is. Okay, so you can use the distinct function outside of the count function and within the select class or the within the count function also. Only one thing you need to remember is you can't use the multiple columns in the count function with the distinct class. Okay. Any questions?
Can you repeat once again, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, if you see the error, so basically if you want to use the select count of distinct customer IDs, yes, this is perfectly right. Okay, but you can't use the select count of distinct customer ID comma some other combination. So the distinct function within the count, the distinct class within the count function won't allow more than one column. If you want to get the combination of those things, how many count you have to use as a subquery. You just first need to do the distinct, on top of it do the count, not the same time, not at the same time.
Okay.
Okay,
I got it.
yeah. Now the question is, okay, I'm doing a lot of inner queries kind of things. How should I get? Okay, for each customer, how many orders you make it? Now my question is, for each customer, how many orders he made it? I have the 73,595 records, right? I have the 73,595 records, and I have 663 customers. So each customer made, it seems each customer made more than one transaction or more than 10 or whatever it is. So I want to know each customer ID, how many transactions they made. Anyone knows how to achieve
We
that?
can use group by.
Yes, we can go by the group by. So we are now entering into the next topic called the group by. Group by class. So it's the same as the where class, and the group by are the next class in the select query. So group by, what it will do is it will group the items together. Okay, it will group the, based upon the column names you specified in the group by class, it will group the rows together, and then it will give the result set. Let's take, my question is, for each customer, how many orders he made it? For each customer, whenever a question comes like this, for each, okay, for each, for this group, for each within this company, within this category, for each category, for each company. So whenever within this or for each these keywords coming, you have to, you will go by the group by class. So if you want to grouping the things together, now I'm group by what I need to do here based upon the question. Can someone tell me? For each customer, how many orders he made it? Then
Customer ID.
yes, I need to group by customer ID. So select, I just need the count of the orders, right? So count of order ID, comma, I need the customer ID. So that is nothing but the customer ID from sales dot customers orders. Sorry, orders. Here where there is no filtering, I'm not doing any filter. Group by customer ID. See each, so I can give the name, number of orders like this, and the customer ID. So customer ID 1 made a 129 orders, customer ID 10 made a 116. So if I submit of this number of orders, that should be matched with the 73,000 total records in my table. Is it clear? So I'm just doing the grouping of these things. So how this internally work is, okay, so, and one more thing we need to understand over here is, if you want to apply the where class must be before to the group by, or the where class, you can't give the where class after the group by. You can't give the where class after the group by. If you want to use the where class, you can use the where class before to group by. Suppose I don't want the customer ID is less than 10, then where customer ID greater than 10. Then group by customer IDs. Then if I just select this one, see all my customer IDs greater than 10. So the group by class come after where class, or in other words, where class must be before to group by. I can say like this. If you write down the where class and group by, order is where come first and group by class come next. Let's assume, let's take a small sample data and I will explain you how internally it will work. Okay.
Sir, can we use the same query you are using distinct?
So distinct query, if you use, you will just get the result set out. You can't get the count of this one, right? So
We don't get it.
yeah, you have to use a sub. Yes, we did the same thing, but to get that one, you have to write some inner queries. You need to do the
Okay.
distinct and count off on the top of it.
Okay.
Right. So that's why the problem. So let me go back to some sample example. Okay, let's take the EMP ID or the order table itself. Order ID and customer ID, salesperson ID, and then it will take me the something price, quantity. Let's assume this is the transaction. Already 1, 2, 3 like this. If I want to generate a test data, I can click this like this and drag the information. Then okay, I'm creating 30 rows. Okay, one more also I can create 30. And the customer, let me make customer 1, customer, the same customer here, 7 transactions. If I want to copy the same one on all the cells, there is a control D for doll. If I press on the control D, the same top cell row value will be populated to the selection value. So let's take here customer 2 for next, this one, control D. Customer 3 is this one, control D. It is a customer 4. So then the salesperson, maybe 1, just make it 1, all the things. So all the we have only one employee, salesperson, then everyone is worked there itself. Let's take the quantities 10, whatever it is. It doesn't matter here. Now our query, what we return the query is, right? If I want to get for each customer how many transactions or orders he made. So what we write, select count of customer ID, comma, customer ID, okay, from TBL underscore orders, group by customer ID, right? Which means as for the SQL Server execution order, the statement will start from class. The statement will start from class, right? So first cut, it will get all this data. It will get, so the step 1 internally, step 1, it will copy all this data. Control C. Okay, so step 1, it will get all the 30 records for us. Step 2, the second statement will execute. There is no joins, there is no where class, so there is no filtering applied. Then group by customer ID. So it's just
one. Excuse me, sir. You written the select and counter customer ID. Why you written one more time customer ID?
I want to get the count, comma, customer ID. So first customer made the 10 transactions. Count of customer ID, what it will give? It will give just the number, how many transactions he made. If I give the just a 10, 15 like this, is there any make sense to you? Can you understand? Suppose if I don't have this column, just have the number of orders. How can you know this number belongs to which customer? This number of orders belongs to customer ID 11. How can we know if you don't have this column? The result set will just display this column, then there is no meaning to read of that data. Is it clear? If I don't have the customer ID column, it won't display, it will just display the number of records, number of orders.
That's correct only what you're saying and correct, understood. But but actually the customer ID, instead of that, if you're putting so what exactly you wanted to count actually total, what is the number of customers?
Number of orders each customer made. So our question is here is, what are total number of orders made by
customer.
Each customer. Then so the output should be customer ID. Output should be customer ID and the number of transactions, number of orders, right? So the internally what it will do is, our statements always execute from the from class. So from table orders, it's just first step, copy all the data. Second step, is there any filters? No. If there is any where clause applied, that will be applied. Okay. If not, it will just take the same set and group by customer ID. So whenever it did the group by customer ID, it will select only one column. It will have only one column, customer ID here. Customer ID. Only it will have customer ID, and it will take the customer ID. Okay. It will take the customer ID and it will group it. So all this one is one group, first group. This is the second group. This is the second group. This is the third group. And this is the fourth group. Okay. So it will just take the customer ID and it will group it. Okay. Now along this one, it's just make a bucketing. Whenever you did the group by, it will just make the combination of the bucketing. Then it will go back to the order of the, as per our command, it will go back to the select. In the select, count of customer ID. I have the column customer ID, then it will do the customer ID count. So this is one group, right? This is one group. In this group, how many rows I have? So it is going to be 7. And what is the customer ID? It's a 1. The same way, 2 and sorry. Here, how many records I have? I have the 5 records. 5 and 2. Okay. Here for 3 it is a 14. So 14 records for 3.
May I interrupt once?
Yes, go ahead.
Instead of a count of customer ID to get the same result, we could use even count of order ID, right?
Yes. So basically the count function is the aggregate function, right? So you can use the order ID or you can use the count of here. We did the order ID itself. If you see our previous one, we did the count of order ID. So whenever you did the count of order ID, so basically it did the customer group by customer ID. And for each customer ID, it has the order information. Then whenever you go for the count of order ID, it will take that order ID also. So in generally, if you don't use any aggregation functions, that columns won't be written out. That's what I'm trying to derive over here. Okay.
Actually, instead of that one, generally we can go for the counter by. Generally, we'll go with what do you call primary key only. Okay, got it, sir.
No, yeah. So here, like this. So whenever it will go to the select command, and it will get this one. Let's take, I want to get the salesperson ID also. I want the customer ID and the number of transactions he made and the salesperson ID. So if I go and do the salesperson ID here, let's take the salesperson ID, salesperson person ID. Execute this one. This give the error for us. The error, if you read the error, the salesperson person ID is invalid in the select list because it is not contain either a aggregation function or the group by class. So if you use the group by class, the columns what you specified in the select class must be either you must use the some aggregate function or it should be in the group by class. What are the aggregate functions? Aggregate functions. We have the aggregate functions like sum, minimum, maximum, count. Okay, so some average. These are all the aggregate functions. So basically, whenever you are grouping this one, right? One set is grouped, one set is not grouped. It won't give you any results. It won't possible. So here you are grouping by the customer, and you are just trying to read the salesperson ID. Then you have to make a combination of these two. You should not just take the one combination and with the other values. So if you want to retrieve this one, you have to use the group by customer ID comma salesperson ID. Then this will work. Then if you see here, let me order by this, order by customer ID. One customer may made the transaction with the different salespersons. Okay, then it will give you the two different information. If you see here, the customer ID 11, he made a lot of transactions, but each time with a different salesperson. That's why this combination, each combination is one group. Each combination of customer ID and the salesperson is one group. So with this group, how many records I have? With this group, I have how many records I have? That is the count. Is it clear? So the group by function will be applied based upon the columns what you specified. On that set of the rows, the aggregate functions will be applied. On the set of the rows, aggregate functions will be applied. Here, this is grouped like this, right? If I go for the salesperson ID, let's take here the salesperson ID is 2 for these two guys. For the 4-1, let's take there is a 2-2. Then the grouping is here, all these are the same. It will have the one only. All these records will be the same until here. But here, this will be the 2-2. This is a different group. So it will be treated as a different bucket. This treated as a different bucket. So each group wise, it will count. Okay, here 2 rows. Here 2 rows. Here it is 14 rows. Here it is 5 rows. Here it is a 7 rows. So each group wise, it will group together. Suppose if you made it 2 columns, it will group together these 2. Is it clear? So the group by is nothing but the bucketing the rows or the grouping the rows together. The advantage of that one is you are just telling, okay, how many the customer and order combination, customer salesperson combination. Is it clear? Any questions over here? We'll talk about the group by class more detail with the different queries. I just want to make sure that you understand the base concept of the group by class. Speak out if you have any questions on the group by class. The group by class will be helpful for us to group the things together, so like a bucketing, and within that group the select functions, whatever the aggregate functions we have applied, that will be applied within that group.
For example, if the group by class is not given, it's not worked, correct?
Yeah, if you give the group by class, let's take like this, and you are trying to do the count of number of orders, customer ID, salesperson ID, this one.
It may not work.
Because you are trying to do the count function. Count is the aggregate function. Whenever you use the aggregate functions, the remaining columns must use a aggregate function, or it should be in the group by, because one column you can't group other columns just without any group. So
can you repeat one more time that last sentence?
So if you use the count aggregate functions, the remaining columns in the select class must be either in the group by class, or it should apply some aggregate function. Let's take, okay, count of order ID for the customer ID. I want to get, if I use the minimum function kind of things, so it will give me the where the customer ID is very less, like that. So then it will work. Okay, I mean, but it doesn't make any sense to me. The query wise, there is no technical errors over here. Okay, or here where class I have used. No. No, this one I have used the aggregate function, right? The columns what I have used in the aggregate function must be in the group by class. Here the count function is the different. Remaining aggregate functions are different. I can use the count function on any column, but the minimum, maximum, the aggregate columns what I have used, those must be in the group by class. Those must be in the group by class. If I give like this, so for each record it is just giving the minimum of the customer ID. This query doesn't make any sense. So let me get one more small example. Suppose if I want to get the sales for each year, sales for each year, or the number of orders happened each year, something like that. Let us see one table over here, not this one. The sales table, invoices. If I see the data in the invoice table, I have the customer ID, bill to customer, order ID, contact person, invoice date, is credit, total run. I don't have any amount here, so this table is not going to be helpful for me. Order lines, let me go by the order lines. So yes, we have the quantity, unit price, tax rate, picked quantity, and if you have the adventure works, there is a total line amount, like that you have the columns. Let's take, this is also not making customer transactions. Let me see this table, what kind of data I have. Customer transactions, transaction ID, transaction date, amount excluding tax, tax amount, transaction amount. If you see transaction amount, okay, we can do the and the transaction date is there. So for each year, the total transaction amount happened. That's what my query. So I want to see, this is the invoice, right? So for each customer on a given transaction date, he did the some amount, he paid some amount. So I want to see what is the total transaction amount in this table. What is the total transaction amount? Then select, sum is the aggregate function I can use to sum up the rows. Sum, okay, sum of transaction amount, transaction amount from the sales. If I want to get total sum of the transaction amount, what is that? Transaction amount. I'm just copying the column name from the above query, so that totally it is 267,000. Okay, 267,000 total transaction amount. I want to get this total transaction amount by year, for each year, then group by, year wise. So there is a transaction date.
Transaction date.
Yeah. So there is a transaction date, but the date is in a complete date format, right? I want the by, okay, if I do like this, if you see here, it's give me different rows. Each date wise, totally 1247 days the transactions happen, and each date wise it is. I want to see the date also, then I can get transaction date. Then for each date, what is the total amount? Okay, on 1311, this is the total amount. On 13.2, this one. There won't be any record with the same 2013 January 1st, because it is grouped, already grouped. How many records it's grouped together to make this amount? So if I have a question set that I have the transaction date, I have the total transaction amount, but how many transactions happened? Can you guys suggest me what to do? How many transactions happened for each date? I want the how many transactions, total transaction amount, and the given date.
Count of transaction.
Yeah. So comma count of one or the transaction date, whatever it is. Okay. See here.
Give instead of one, you
can give the
what you want to count actually.
Transaction date.
Yeah, we can give that directly.
Yeah, you can give the transaction date as number of transactions, number of trans. Okay. So if you see this one, the group by clause, now what it is doing, it is grouping together the transaction date. Within this group, it is applying the sum function and the count function. The sum function, if you don't specify the group by class, the sum function and the count function will apply for the total table. Okay, if you specify the group by, first it will do the group by that one and do the sum function and count function. Okay, now for each date, for this date I have the 41 transactions and the total amount is this one. Within this date, how many customers also came? Okay, in the given date I have the 41 transactions and this $32,000 amount, but how many customers I have? How many customers?
We have to give like a group by transaction date, comma, customer ID.
Exactly, customer ID. Then I have, if you want to get the customer ID also in the select class, you can use the
count.
Yeah, count of, not the count, you just want the customer ID over there. So you can give the customer ID here. Okay, so you can just like this. Group by transaction date, customer ID, this one. Comma.
Comma is missing after customer.
Yes, comma is missing. Okay. So customer.
One more thing, sir. Yes. I actually the previous before this one, you written transaction date and number of transaction amount. We can also make it like on each date how much minimum amount, what is the maximum amount, we can also find out, correct?
You can write the total amount here, it is right. So the minimum amount and the maximum amount happened. So what is the least transaction amount? What is the maximum transaction amount? I can call that one as yeah, you can write. So
no, but we cannot write the all sum as well as min max. We cannot both we cannot write, correct?
You can write min of transaction amount. You can write a min of transaction amount, comma max of transaction amount. So this is the minimum transaction amount. Minimum amount. This is the max trans amount.
This is called column alias, correct, sir?
Yes.
What do you write?
The column alias. Okay. So whenever you apply the function, the column name gone, you have to give the especially column names. You see here. So the transaction date 2014, we have the this information and the total amount. So here is total amount. That's why using the column alias after the functions is much required. If you have the more than one column without giving any name, it will give the no column name. You don't have any clue what does that mean. Okay, so the transaction date and this one amount. If you see here, the transaction date is not in order. Initially when you see that one, it seems like it is in order, but now when you are working on the query, the result sets are changing. It is not in order because we haven't specified any order by clause. If you don't specify order by clause, the result set is not in order. Okay, so you can view the order by transaction date descending or ascending, whatever it is. Okay, if you don't specify anything, that is the ascending order. See here, on the 1301, you got the 20 records. Why you have the 20 records? You are looking for the each transaction date and customer. You have the different customers here. If you see the customer ID here, but one for the given one customer ID, again you got the 2 records. Again, oh no, sorry, one only. Yeah, you should not get the more than 1 record for each customer here, because you group together, right? So each customer, I want to order the customer ID also. Then transaction date, comma, customer ID. I can mention that transaction date, comma, customer ID. It is very, very important to understand this group by class. That's why I'm taking time to here explain the in detail of the group by class. Okay. So if you see here, we did the transaction for each day and each customer in the day, how many transactions he made. The customer one made 10 transactions. For the customer one,
So simply we can understand group by class nothing but it was combining the based on the column ID, whatever given the name. Transaction date is on the, for example, on January 1st, how much will be there, January 2nd, on January 3rd, like that one, and the group by class will be there.
The group by class currently here doing the transaction date and customer ID. So each date and customer ID combination. So if you specify only transaction date, it's only transaction ID. If you specify transaction date, customer ID, and some other column, then those 3 columns. So whatever you did here, based upon that one, it is bucketing. And on top of that one, the minimum maximum is coming. So the minimum amount here, $37, is for the customer one for the 1301, January 1st. It is not for the total January 1st. What is the minimum transaction amount? This is for the transaction amount of the customer one. Let's take here this guy. These are all made one transaction. So the minimum maximum is the same. There won't be any difference as compared to the total amount. Is it clear? In this date, these customers made one transaction. If they made one transaction, the minimum maximum will be the same. But this customer made 10 transactions. That's why the minimum amount is different than the maximum amount. And the total makes the different. My bottom line is the aggregate functions will be applied on after the group what you did, on top of the group only. Is it clear or any questions?
Clear, sir.
Yes, good. So now let's take another example. I want to get the to each year wise. I did directly for the transaction date wise, right? So that's why it's giving me 49,000. I just want to get the each year. What is how much amount I have? A simple query. Can someone tell me? I want to just get the year wise amount. Okay. For each year, total transaction amount, and the number of transaction happened. This is my query, what I'm looking for. Then what would be the query? So if I use just transaction date, it is a date wise. So I need to get the total year wise. So we can apply a
everybody looking the comment what you written, but I'm not able to see that one. For each total transactions,
the number of transactions happened. I already placed it 200%.
Did you type sir H totally?
So
yeah, now
we are looking for. Are you guys able to see my screen? Is it clear for you guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so the year function will give you the year. So based upon the date, the year will be extracted by using the year function. So you can apply just year of transaction date on this one. Here group by also you have to use the same year of function. Year of transaction date. then take off the customer ID. I don't want to look by the customer ID perspective. Okay, and minimum maximum also doesn't make any sense to me in this scenario. I'm not going to be looking into these two. So my simple query is like this. And order by also. Here, let's take the year. Year name, let's take. I can use the year name here in the order by class. Okay, I can use the year name in the order by class, but I can't use the year name in the group by class. See, 2013, the total amount is this much amount, number of transactions is this much. So now you are getting for each year how many transactions happen, what is the total amount. Two things to note here. The group by class, if you apply some function, you want to get it from the select class, the same structure has to be in the group by class also. You can't give the, okay, like this. Even though you gave here, it just did the transaction date wise. In the selection, you are just taking the year of that one. So here you can get the two things. Okay, year of transaction date, comma transaction date. Okay. If you see this first column, here the group by, you are doing the date wise, but in the selection you are doing just the year wise, then you will get the duplicate records, right? For each year you are getting a more than one record because your group by is not at the year level, your group by at the date level.
Sir, can we write that year name alias in group by clause?
No, that's what the next question I want to explain over here. So because the same reason, the SQL Server execution order, the execution order will start from the from, then where. Now one more command I'm introducing, group by, then select
Order by.
And if you have the top command, order by command will be executed, then select command will be. Okay. So this is why the order of SQL Server execution is very much important to understand the concepts. Okay, that's why we can't use the aliasing over here.
Can you repeat this order one more time? This last one, the from where class?
So the order of the execution. So here, if I write the order by year name, it is working. But if I write the group by year name I already know in the select class, it's saying the select of year of transaction date as the year name I give, right? So I can use the group year name in the group by class? No, because the group by class will execute first, then the select class will execute. That's what I have explained in the Excel. First it will do the from class, then do the group by, then do the select. Step 3, right? The order of SQL Server execution is the matter over here. That's why it is not able to identify this column while doing the group by.
So you're written on the green is like first you will take from, after that in where, then after group, correct? You reckon you're given the order like that one, the below one.
This is the order which SQL Server execute internally.
First the from, then where, then group and select and all that.
Okay. Now, if I want to filter out, okay, I don't want. There is two things, right? So you have the sales information, you have the customer transaction information. In other words, you have customer transaction information. Let me see the total data once again. I don't want the 2013 data. Let's make it simple, very simple. Okay, I got the each year wise total time amount, right? So I have the 2013, 14, 15, 16 data. I don't want the 2013 data. I want the data only after the 2014. Then how would we change this one? So filter the records for only to greater than 2013. Okay, we don't want the 2013 data.
Where clause we can include?
Where clause we can include. Okay, good. Where clause we can include. Where clause. Okay, where? Tell me.
Year
Where
of
that,
transaction date.
no, that is year of transaction greater than 2030.
Okay. Greater than 2013. That's good. Okay. Now if I execute this one, it will give me. This is the one way. Now let's assume I have the total transaction amount to minus 38,000. If you see here, this doesn't make any. Why the 2014 data has the minus values transaction, which means you are giving the value back to customers. So let me see the which means that minus actually.
Sir, I mean small clarification. Your written first select, then from and where and group by all will be first displaying according to this order only, correct? First selecting all the records, then filtering from by using the where class,
No.
then by group by.
Yeah.
Not like that.
First from.
Selection is the last, I guess.
Selection is the before to order by. That's what we discussed a couple of times. Selection.
No, whatever we are mentioning, whatever mentioning is not correct order, sir.
I didn't get your question, sir. So basically, internally the execution will start from the from. The query is right. The execution will start from the from. So it will take all the records, then filter out, then group by, then display the results, then order it. Okay. So let's see in 2014 why we have the negative amount. Okay. I want to see the negative records in the 2000 year data. So I want to see only select start from customer transactions on the 2014 data, where the total amount. Just give me 5 more minutes, guys. We will close on this one. Okay. Total amount is less than 0. If I want to get the negative numbers, I can use the less than 0, right?
There is no total amount. That's an alias.
That's good. So transaction amount. So it's a transaction amount we have to use greater than less than 0. So there are transaction date 13 also there. Okay, there are something else there. Now I want to get the year wise the total amount where it is greater than which year I have the total amount greater than only positive numbers. In other words, here 2014 I have the negative numbers, right? That's why I don't want the negative numbers here. The total in that year, the total must be greater than 0. Only positive records. Okay. I want to get only that record, or in other words, reverse question. I want to get where for which year the total amount is less than. For each year, the total amount is less than 0. Can we use the where clause?
No.
No, because the aggregated value not in the table. The aggregated value not in the table. That's why we can't use the aggregate functions in the where clause. We can't use the sum of total amount. You can't use the where sum of total amount, no, sum of like this. Instead of sum of transaction amount, sum of transaction amount greater than 0. We can't use like this. Okay. Aggregation functions should not be in the where clause. If you want to apply some filters on the aggregated value, you have to use the having clause. You have to use having clause. Having okay. So the having clause, if you want to filter on the records where see 2014 gone, I don't get the 2014. If I want to just make it less than, then 2014 will become. So the filtered value, if you want to filter the records based upon the aggregated value, you have to use the having clause. As you are filtering on the after the aggregation, so having will come after the group by. It won't come before to the group by. So before to group by is where clause, after group by is having clause. Are we clear on when to use the having clause and when to use the where clause? Where versus having. Can someone answer me? When to use where clause, when to use the having clause?
We can use the where clause when we have to compare the given column in the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use the having clause while applying the aggregate function to a column.
Yeah.
But where and having and both are the filtering only. And where class, which are the records you required, and this having class is required the conditions.
No,
the conditional thing.
both are the conditions. Both are the conditions. Both are filtering. Only difference is where clause will apply on the non-aggregated columns. Having clause will apply on the aggregated result set. If you want to filter on the aggregated value, having clause must be. Okay. So remaining things are the where clause.
And nothing but the where class we can apply for the having class. We can apply for the alias. Correct.
Not the alias. Don't think like that. Having clause will be applied for the aggregated values. If you want to compare the total count less than this one, total number of count this one, total number of employees less than this one. Give me the departments with total number of employees less than 10. Give me the employees. The question is, okay, give me the total number of, give me the department names. Give me department name where total students less than 10. Give me the department name where total student is less than 10, which means first you have to group by department, then the count of the student ID is less than 10 in the having clause. You have to check that one in the having clause.
Having clause.
That's and the baseline assumption also. If you know the difference between the where class and having class, then the where we can use before group and having can we can use after group.
Exactly. Because having will be applied on the aggregation columns. Aggregation will happen in the group by. So having will go to the after the group by. So here order of execution will change. Order of execution also we have to mention from where it is. From where group by having select order by. Okay. These are all what we learned till now. So from where group by having select order by, and few aggregate functions we just learned about, sum function, minimum, max, and we can go ahead and check on the average, those things also. So play with these things, group by class and having class, and next class Monday we will start about how to get the data from the more than one table. Okay, joins. We'll jump onto the joins, how to get the retrieve the data from the more than one tables. Maybe before to that one I will take a few 10 to 15 minutes on the constraint, like what is the not null, what is the primary key, what is the foreign key, what is the constraints. We'll talk about the constraints, database constraints. Database constraints to ensure your data has the quality information. So we'll talk about the database constraints, then we'll go to the retrieving the data from the more than one table, which is nothing but the joins. Is it clear?
Sir, can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
If you can please draw some questions and can send us, it would be good for us to practice like that.
Good question. That's good question. Let me do one thing. By tomorrow morning, guys, please expect me.
Yeah.
By tomorrow morning, there will be one questions list, and I'm going to be write a few questions on the AdventureWorks, few questions on the worldwide importers. Whoever has the AdventureWorks, do those questions. Whoever on the worldwide importers, do those questions. Okay. I will place the questions list in the same drive what we have. Go ahead and take the questions, and I will give the 5 questions. 5 questions till what we learned.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Suggestion, Kushbu. Yep. Go ahead. Anyone has other questions?
Sir, 1 second, sir. And just I wanted to, what you explained, just want to understand more clear on that one. And if you want to take into any records, first we can execute the from class, then after the where and after the group and library and select, then by order by, correct? This is what.
Yes. Pardon? That is right. Whatever you have explained is right.
No,
I understand. This is what you mentioned.
Yes.
can you also give this?
What
I don't have the access to the drive.
Drive, I have given drive access, Ramesh. Let me. Are you not able to access the drive?
I tried. I did not.
Oh, let me. Sorry about that. Let me see. I give the public access, but let me give you. Try paste you the link once again. Check it that one where you are able to access or not. And I didn't add any specific rules over here. It is a public access.
Sir, can you please like add today's